Welcome back to CurrentAds.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video, we're going to be starting a brand new mini-series, What is Free Will? Now, what free will is, and whether or not it exists, is a debate that dates back to ancient philosophy. It's particularly challenging because the question, often of greatest interest to those who are new to philosophy, is whether or not free will exists. But that question is inexorably tied up with the question of what exactly we mean when we say free will. If we mean one thing, it may exist. If we mean something else, it might not. The crux of the issue is a trilemma. A trilemma is three propositions which are intuitively convincing, but which are logically inconsistent. You can't hold all three of them, but you want to. In order to be logically consistent, one must deny at least one of these three pretty intuitive propositions. Whichever proposition you deny defines which position you hold. So, the trilemma looks broadly like this. 1. The universe follows deterministic laws. For example, laws of physics, the plan of God, cause and effect, etc. Number 2, free will is the ability to do otherwise according to those laws, to act other than you were predetermined to actually kind of make a choice in a given situation, as opposed to following the deterministic laws of the universe, whatever those laws are. And the premise, free will exists. So these three propositions cannot all logically be held at the same time. If the universe is deterministic, and free will is the ability to break free of that determinism, then free will cannot exist. But, as they say, one man's modus ponens is another man's modus tollens. If free will exists, and the universe is deterministic, it must mean something other than the ability to do otherwise. Taking a step back, there are a lot of exact ways that different philosophers will frame this dilemma around exactly how they're phrasing the first premise about determinism of how the universe follows deterministic laws. It may be something specific like the laws of physics. It may be cause and effect. It might be a divine plan, things like that. And exactly how they frame free will may look slightly different, but the broad strokes are here, that there are some rules that everything in the universe follows. Free will is defined as the ability to do otherwise than those rules, and free will exists. Those three things don't work together. You can't hold all three at the same time. So, there are then three positions that we can hold, depending on which of these three premises you think you should drop. So, something known as hard determinism, determinism al dente, or just determinism, is the position that denies the third premise. It says the universe follows deterministic laws, free will is the ability to do otherwise from those laws, therefore, free will does not exist. Compatibilism, also sometimes known as soft determinism, is the position that denies the second premise. So it says the universe follows deterministic laws, but free will does exist because what we mean by free will isn't the ability to do otherwise from those laws, but something other than that. We mean something else when we're talking about free will. And finally, you have libertarianism. This is the metaphysical position, not the political position, which is the position that denies the first premise. So according to libertarians, free will is the ability to do otherwise from that which you were predetermined to, but free will does exist. You can break those laws, whatever those laws are, the will of God, the laws of physics, cause and effect, what have you, and that's what you do when you exercise free will. You actually break out of that deterministic pattern. So those are the three broad positions that are defined by denying a given premise. In this mini-series, we're going to look at each of these three positions and the arguments for them. We're also going to look at the negations of these positions, what I'll call incompatibilism, determinism, in a broad sense, not hard determinism or soft determinism, but determinism writ large, and what I'll call freedomism, which is a roughly defined position that most other people won't call anything but just to fill out the logical space, and their reasons for objecting. Many modern philosophers are compatibilists of some sort, but as a skeptic, I'm not really convinced by any of these positions. But in this series, we'll get a chance to look at each of these positions and the objections to it in turn to understand them better. The first one we'll look at is what is libertarianism, related to free will, not the political position. Then we'll look at what is determinism. This is broad determinism, not specifically hard or soft determinism. Then we will go into specifics with what is hard determinism, as well as what is freedomism, which is an uncommon word to describe a disjointed set of positions. Then we'll look at what is compatibilism, and finally, what is incompatibilism. What do you think? Just given this sense initially, before you hear the arguments for the positions, does one of these positions appeal to you intuitively? Is there a direction you're leaning right now? Do you think we have free will? And what do you think it means to have free will? Give me your answers in the comments below. Click subscribe and click that notification bell if you want to stay up to date on this series and other series we have going on here on the channel. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.